Thank you so much for joining us today. So what is Women with Grit? So for us, this is a bold, multifaceted woman. It's a woman who's a gutsy go-getter. She knows what she wants and she goes after it. She's a grateful go-giver. She knows that gratitude is altitude and gets joy out of giving generously. She's highly resilient. She's a warrior. She gets results, but she knows she cannot do it alone, which is why she builds such strong relationships. She stays relevant by courageously reinventing herself. She's an innovative flair. Her integrity is unquestionable. Her tenacity makes her really kick ass. She's inclusive. She's a true team player. This is a woman you can trust implicitly. At Grit, we are constantly striving to embrace these women with grit qualities. And this is why we are absolutely so excited to share Pumi's story with you today. To help me do this, or to help us do this, I'm going to introduce you to our host, Carmen Wild. Carmen is a seasoned CEO, coach, and behavioral strategist. She's the co-founder of Wild Success, a company that's designed to help CEOs build legendary businesses by unlocking and harnessing the critical drivers of success. Today, she's going to be interviewing our very own Pumi. Pumi is a trailblazer, a businesswoman, and a cancer warrior. She's absolutely a woman with true grit. So, on that note, over to you, Carmen.
Thank you, Moira. And yes, from a woman with grit herself, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And to everyone here, all you women with grit that's joined us and taken the time on a Friday afternoon to come and talk about being a woman with grit, thank you for being here. We really appreciate every single one of you. And let's have fun, let's learn. Pumi's already given us goosebumps in just her minute introduction just before we went live. So we're in for a treat. This is a kick-ass, amazing woman and beaming in red today. So I'm going to do a short bio and then we're going to kick right off. Okay, so Pumi Lukhele is a development manager at Gateway Real Estate Africa, which is part of the Grit Group. She has a BSc honors in construction management. Take note, ladies, construction management, and an MBA, and is currently completing her master's in real estate investment and finance. She has 18 years experience in commercial real estate development across Southern and East Africa, and has delivered a variety of projects ranging from commercial office buildings, retail centers, warehouses, residential developments to hotels and casinos. Through her role on the Women's Property Network, WPN, she pioneered student chapters at Wits University, the University of KwaZulu-Natal, the University of Cape Town, and the University of Johannesburg. Pumi has broken through many tough barriers to follow her dream. And today we get to hear all about the way in which she's created magic, and literally how she's made miracles happen to be with us today. So Pumi, a very warm welcome. Amazing to have you share your story with us. And let's kickstart, Pumi, by you actually saying your name, full name correctly and giving us an idea of where that came from and what it means.
Thank you, Carmen, and good morning to everyone. I'm sitting in South Africa for it, so it's still morning. But yeah, thank you for the great introduction. I must tell you, when I read the bio, I couldn't believe that was me, to be honest. But yeah, my full name is Nompumelelo Lukhele, which means it's a Nguni origin, which means the queen of success or the mother of success. And, you know, when we were growing up, my mother used to always speak to our name, and she repeatedly kept on telling us where our name comes from, why we were named the way we were named, and to a point where she would develop you into carrying your name and living your name. So what my story is, I was born on the year that my father graduated from his medical degree. So I guess it was such a tough thing to do back then in the days, in the background of apartheid, that success was the key word that stood out in the family. And so when I was born, I was given the name Nompumelelo. And when my mother kept repeating this as I was growing up, I literally carried my dad's achievements with me as if they were mine until I started making my own successes. So that's how my name came about. And that's the start of my character when I was born.
What an incredible pathway your mom gave you to right at the outset. And yet, Pumi, Queen of Success, that doesn't mean that the red carpet of success was laid out right before you, right?
Yeah, that's correct. It was, well, look, I grew up, first of all, in Garankuwa, and that was, at that time, the Republic of Botswana. So it was in the backdrop of apartheid. So that on its own was very tough to navigate as a child. But, one of the highlights of my career was being raised in a community environment. And then I must say now that Garankuwa is now part of South Africa. It's in the Gauteng province. And we grew up, because of that backdrop, we grew up in a community environment. We grew up helping each other, supporting each other, whether it was in the township or whether we were back at my grandmother's village in Polokwane. We were raised as a community. And when I think about those times, Carmen, I actually give my hat off to my parents, my grandmother, my aunts, my uncles, my community, my family, friends, who created that environment in the backdrop of what South Africa was back then. So yes, it wasn't a red carpet, but it was something that I needed to believe true for my life going forward.
You have a beautiful picture that you painted when we had our intro call together of your childhood. You have very fond memories, and actually it's the backbone of everything that you stand for today. The Ubuntu, the community, the sharing, collaboration, growing together, and also your infectious optimism. So, however, you were notably different. You were totally different to everybody around you. And for a long time, you thought that difference was a disadvantage. Tell us what was notably different about you and how you managed to turn or reframe that disadvantage into an advantage for yourself.
Yeah, I always growing up as a teenager, I think the teenagers are always the hardest time of anyone's life. Really felt like I was different to my peers, different to my friends in high school. I surrounded myself with people that were A students. I was not an A student. I thought completely different from everybody else. And it was and at that time, which I didn't touch on, is I was also struggling with depression as a teenager. And at the time when you're meant to choose the career, the choice of what you're going to do for the rest of your life gave me severe anxiety. I couldn't understand how anyone who is 16, 17 at that time, and everyone around me knew exactly what they wanted to study, applied what they wanted to apply for, and got in. I grappled with it so much. I conceded to everyone then, convincing me to register for a BCom accounting at the University of Pretoria, purely because that was probably the only subject I was getting an A and a B with. But I knew it didn't define my character, and I struggled with that a lot. I did then anyway go to class, as one should. And 2 months into it, I walked into a classroom, Carmen, 15 minutes before the time, and that class was completely full. It was completely full. There was no seat for me. Even the stairs were taken. I think I took the last staircase, and everyone else had to listen at the back outside the classroom. And when I sat down on that stair, Carmen, I tell you, I made that decision. I made the decision that I'm not continuing with this course. There is no ways that if I come to class 15 minutes before, it's chock-a-block. This is not the career that I'm going into. I knew that. And so that was the last time I attended any form of accounting BCom course. And fortunately at that time, my dad managed to get a connection who got me to shadow for a day or two at a quantity surveying firm. He was feeling optimistic because at least it's still numbers. It's still, I'm good with numbers, but then maybe it's not just spreadsheets. And I then said to the person, I was 18,
Yeah.
I said to that person, so we look at these plans, you punch the numbers. When do you go to this place that that is drawn here? When do we go there to see it? And that's when it was suggested, just go and explore construction management. It's going to be difficult, but there's nothing else we can do. And that's how I reinvented myself. I decided I'm going to go against everybody's recommendation. My mother was absolutely horrified for a long time. I think even into my first 2 years of working, she thought I was studying to be a professional bricklayer. But she's now very proud and happy that I made the choice. And that's how I got into construction management.
Oh, fantastic. What I love about this story and this part of your journey, Pumi, is that so many women don't honor themselves. And they go through life, according to other people's wishes and will and way. And it's about what I think I should or must or have to do for others. And you did start out like that.
Yeah.
And thank goodness it was only 2 months that you actually, and thank goodness the universe conspired to make that class full for you to literally not have a place, which actually was energetically not your place to be there.
That's
and
correct.
You followed your heart's wish. And this is where the story starts to get really, really exciting. But before we go into that, this was your first experience of self-awareness. So how did you handle this disapproval from this very close family and now particularly your mom? How did you handle that?
Well, like I said, we grew up in a very supportive family. So there's certain things at home that were an absolute no. Interestingly enough, one of my first career choices was to be a racetrack driver. That wasn't even up for debate. And so I think coming into construction management, as much as they didn't understand, the idea that it was a BSc degree was comforting. And many times, yes, they would say, you can always go back to accounting. There's lots of opportunities. At that time, chartered accountants were in demand. And I had to always check with myself, I needed to silence the world around me at that young age and check with myself, are you still okay with this decision? Are we still together? Is me, myself, and I still together? And that's what got me through. The great thing about that is when you are sure about your decision, I have the type of family that will support you. Even if they don't understand it, they will support you. And the amazing thing about that as well is they will also try and learn and understand what it is that you're doing. So it wasn't too much of a burden to navigate around, but I really did have to always check with myself because it was easy to concede and go back and say, let me just do the accounting route just because it's needed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much easier to just fall in and follow, whereas you took the lead on your own in your own life, and you knew what you wanted. You made the decision, you went after it, and then you checked in constantly to see if you were still on course. So a lot of success principles, true to your name there, all playing out to help keep on track. So you had a very harsh realization in your second year of construction management that forced you to take an innovative step as a solution. Tell us about that bold step you made.
Yeah, so I think I was blindsided. Let's say in my second year, the first 2 years of the construction course, we all come in together as architects, QS. We attend classes together. So I think it's the second or the third year where we all split. I walked into the classroom, I've seen years in the. That's when I realized that I'm the only female and Black person in that year that has taken this route. And I walked into a room full of white men. And I was like, where are the other people? Where did they go? And they all went their different routes, whether it was architecture or QS or all of that. And that for me was a harsh reality and wake-up call, because I realized that I needed to build my character. If this is how the classroom is going to look like for the next three years, I think it was, I should expect that this is the environment that I'm going into. And if I don't start building my resilience and my character now, I don't think I will make it in the working environment. And so I decided to join the reserve force. I joined the army, the Pretoria Regiment, armored regiment.
To stop you for a moment, this chick kicks ass. And, you know, this is what I love about Pumi's story. It kind of, it's this, the queen of success just takes the most surprising turns, just where you think, okay, this is going to possibly get her, she's going to quit at this stage. She does something else that's surprising. So please go on and tell us about this, the soldier in you.
Yeah, so the Pretoria Armored Regiment came to recruit at Res, and I decided to apply. At that time, there were about 300 applicants, 45 were accepted, and I was one of them. Out of the 45, 9 of them were women. And throughout our training, 15 of us completed our gunnery course and were promoted into Lance Corporal. And out of the 15, 6 of us were women, and I was one of them. So, you know, my journey in the army was a very interesting one. And a lot of people think that it's all about physical strength. And what it ended up being is how developing our emotional and mental character. The model of the army is, at that time, I mean, we were learning technical things. We were learning about the tank. It wasn't infantry. We are tankers. And the model at that time is they break you down as an individual to build you up as a unit. And where your success lies is how you deal with the breaking you down as an individual. I had to be broken down. My other colleagues had to be broken down, but we didn't understand why. In my mind, I was learning to build my character. I was learning to be resilient. I was learning to be this tough woman and learning about the tank and shooting and being a Lance Corporal. While at the same time, when the process starts to build you up as a unit, it really was an incredible thing.
Sure. What do you think is the biggest takeaway from that whole experience, and you're still a part of the army, that you brought into the business world?
Yeah, I think definitely don't leave a soldier behind and learn to work as a team. One of the things about the army is we got punished all the time. I mean, for anything, you get punished for breathing or whatever it is, but you cannot come back. You don't come back to the base on your own. You might be punished as a unit, but you don't come back on your own. And when you do come back, we send you out, they send us out to go find each other. We find each other and we come back as a unit. And we celebrate together. And believe me, once we celebrated, we then get punished for not coming back as a unit in the first place.
Wow.
so that sort of drive really, I really took that with me, and I brought it into my career world. I brought it into when I started my business, is that we work as a team, and especially in our industry, you work as a team. We start a project as a team, and we need to finish it as a team. It takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of beating up. You might need to carry a few people. You might need to go back and just talk somebody else to not give up, because you all want to go back together, you know. And those were the principles that I still use today in my life and in my business and in my career.
We'll come back to this a little later. Yeah, I want you to just go into your first job and then your Sun International experience. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I started working for Airland in 2015, and I remember reporting to Richard Cottrell, who was able to, he had a magical way of switching between a boss and a mentor, but he had this ability to shock you, to give you a shock, so that he can then mentor you from your state of shock. And so I walked into his office for one day, and he said to me, no, actually, I think he called me into his office, and he said to me, look, you're here and you're starting your career, but I want you to know that you are not familiar into this industry. You are young, you are a woman, and you are Black in the South African context, and I'm gonna give you projects where you're gonna be running and leading very strong, tough, white male characters. So take it, what I've given you, swallow it, marinate it in it, get over it, so that we can start navigating around it and helping you change that narrative. He was that type of mentor. It was like shock you to wake you up. And I tell you, Carmen, I took his words, and I suppose, you know, the experience of walking into that classroom, the experience of the army, I took his words and I decided I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to learn as much as I can from this man. And I'm going to make sure that I am good at what I do. That it's not a question, that my gender is not a question, my race is not a question. It's what am I bringing to the table? And that is my skill. And it was it was liberating, because I did have that mentor, that boss, that mentor who opened the opportunity, who pushed me. He opened the door and he pushed me. And I had to sink, I had to swim, because the sinking was not an option.
What's really amazing, Pumi, as you share your story, is how the principles of success come through very strongly. You know, what you've been true to is you, right through your journey. You knew what you wanted. It was a tough career choice that you made, but you were true to you. And you are rewarded for being true to you. And what we're finding and what we're hearing, and it goes right to today, where these angels come into your way, into your path, and they might be tough as hell. They might look a bit like devils in the moment, but they've constantly guided you and held you and helped you push through, which is really incredible. But you were listening and you knew what you wanted and you stayed true to you. And that's what helped you through that. What did you take away from your work at Sun International? That was quite an important.
Yeah, Sun International was, I think it was the first, when I joined Sun International, it was the first time I decided to really focus on my career growth. It was also after I had a 2-year stint of running my own business. At that time, the Africa bug had bitten me. And so I had decided that for me to get the right platform to obtain my Africa experience, I needed to do something now, whether it was upskilling myself or whether it was, I needed something unique for me. And I was, when the Sun International opportunity came about, it was a no-brainer. I took it. I then moved from being a project manager to a development manager, and got to be part of a team that built the second biggest casino in South Africa, amongst other developments that I did with the business. And that was fulfilling and rewarding. But one of the things that was even more rewarding is the different type of support support that I managed to get from an organization like Sun International, and the type of support you get when you move up when you grow in your career path, is that they then supported me to participate in industry events, in industry organizations. And that's when I, as much as I was a member at Women's Property Network, which is WPN in abbreviation, I then got to be on the national committee of WPN at that time. I started with the Gauteng committee, and the national chair of WPN then had this vision of having WPN gain presence on each campus. And the reason for that is WPN not only promotes the role of women in real estate industry, they also provide business bursary funding for women who are interested in doing real estate courses. And so it made sense. It made sense that we should have presence in the universities. She then called me up from the Gauteng committee, and she said, "I need you on the national team. This is my vision. Can you do it?" And Carmen, I mean, if you haven't picked it up by now, I am an action person, right? I am like Sandy Mutuma. I am ready. I can do it. I just need support from my company. And Sun International came through in full force with providing venues, providing time for me to go and interact with the students, interact with the lecturers, build the student chapters, mentor the young women that we elected to run those chapters. And that was probably the biggest fulfillment for me in my career. Yes, I've built the second biggest casino in South Africa. I've delivered all these other projects that, is a long list, but to be part of giving back to a community, to be part of being accessible to young women who they themselves are confused. What is this construction about? What am I going to do when I finish? Why aren't there a lot of women in this industry? Being accessible to them really just was fulfilling for me. And that's my biggest takeaway about my time at Sun International. It's just the CEO and the COO support and the development director support at that time, who rallied behind my portfolio in WPN. Was phenomenal.
Makes you such a phenomenal woman, Pumi. It's, yes, you might be building physical buildings, but you're building the foundations as well of people and supporting them, young, whether it be young or older women, you're building those foundations that they need to really just take that leap. So just amazing. And that's what gives you the inspiration to keep going. It's those kind of give backs and contributions. So let's
correct, Carmen, if I can also say, it's also just remembering how you felt when you were at that point in your life. Have you changed the narrative? And if you haven't changed the narrative, is it now the time for you to contribute to changing the narrative? And that really increased my passion to this mentorship.
Let's go to the opportunity you took at Greer. And when you took this opportunity, it wasn't only a new work opportunity, career opportunity, it was also an immigration for you. So another big action step. Why was this role so significant at that point in time?
Yeah, sure. When Greer came along, I had been, every move in my career has been linked to trying to get access to get Africa experience. And that was a good 9 to 10 years worth of work, worth of knocking on doors. What do I do in the meantime to upskill myself so that when the opportunity comes, I'm ready for it? So when Greer came along, and quite interesting at that time, the then HR, Kathy Williams, called me and said, look, we've seen your interview, we've seen your work, we know you're capable of doing it, but there's really this element of WPN that sticks out so much that it shows your capabilities to get into something and get it done. I took up my bags, I moved to Mauritius, very optimistic, it wasn't an easy move because you're moving on your own. I'm moving away from my support base that I've built for this so many years. I've had people who say, are you sure you want to go? Maybe you should stay a bit. Is it really time for Africa? And again, you know, that moment of rechecking yourself, rechecking with me, myself and I, are we aligned? Is this the platform? Are you ready? Yes, I was ready. And Geesh Common, I tell you, Gateway, at that time it was Gateway Delta, which Gateway Real Estate Africa is, that's what we are. That's who we are. We provide that gateway into Africa for real estate. And as much as in my head, I had an idea what this is going to be like, but Greer really just opened it up and said, here you are, you've got these skills, we're trusting you, there's East Africa, go. And it was then that I realized that as much as in my previous years, I used to fight for these positions and I used to fight for these opportunities, and I never got them ultimately. It's because I needed that time to actually build this resilience more, build this determination character more. I needed the time to upskill, make sure that my skills are actually refined and are down to the T, because when I landed, I mean, I remember the first trip I went into Uganda, my CFO and Greg, we went there, and, you know, here you are. And that was the last time anyone came with me to to Uganda. And I remember sitting in the hotel and thinking, I don't know this place, I don't know anybody, what do I need to do? And in that moment, I was able to tap into my entrepreneurial skills when I was running my business. I managed to tap into my project management skills, my negotiation skills, my development management skills. I went out and I spoke about Greer into the industry. You know, people had heard about it, but not really quite. And I said, well, here we are, here I am, take us. And we're ready to be a part of the East Africa region. And within 2 years of me going back and forth between, at that time it was Uganda and Mauritius, we managed to then get, I think it was our first retail center onto our portfolio. Remember, Greer at that time was probably a year old. So we were really like a startup. And it boosted my character a lot, Carmen, because when you join a startup, you need to have skills. Everybody needs to take up everything that they can. There is room to be a young junior and to learn, but there's not a lot of room for that. You've got to be firm with your character. You've got to be confident with your skills, because when Greg says, go do that media interview in Uganda, and I'm like, what? I've never spoken to the media before. And look at me now, I'm speaking on the platform of Women with Grit.
Exactly. So you've spoken so much about this construction career that you landed yourself in, and you just went go, go, go. What do you think has been your secret sauce for being a success in this very much male-dominated world of construction? What's the key thing that helped you navigate it?
Yeah, it wasn't an easy thing to learn, Carmen. I think one of the instincts about going into an environment where you are different from it and you're unique. For a long time, I tried to be that tough, macho, act like a man type of person. And the more I got to learn myself and the more I got to understand my personality and character, what actually got me through and got me, let me rather say, what got me accepted into the industry by my male counterparts was when I decided I'm actually not going to be throwing my toys and smashing my phone and throwing my hard hat like these guys do all the time. First of all, it's expensive to replace a phone. I don't have that money. And secondly, there needs to be a better way. And tapping into the can I say, the empathy side of being a woman, the nurturing side of being a woman, really stood out. It stood out a lot to the industry. Well, I think it stood out a lot to the industry and those that worked with me very closely. And I remember one consultant would come to me and say to me, you know, we've seen you grow and you're doing a great job. You're very unique, but there is a fundamental shift on the way you are managing and the way you are now. In the last, at that time, I think he said in the last year, you are doing this career, construction, project management, development management career your way, with your character, with your personality. And he said that for me is just, it's worth listening to, it's worth sitting in the boardroom, it's worth being part of that team, and rather than being part of a person that's leading you, but trying to be like somebody else.
Ah, beautiful. For a bit of the softer nuances to a really hard world, which makes all that difference, but you balanced it beautifully. Pumi, you were flying then in March 2021, more than COVID hit for you. So your life took a drastic turn. Do you want to share what happened?
Yeah, funny enough, if we can look back, last year, I was in ICU. Oh. And I think it was actually last year, if I remember correctly, I was back in South Africa. I felt sick in March, trying to get back into Mauritius. I then was sent into ICU at Mauritius. At that time, we didn't know what was wrong. And then I was transferred into, medically evacuated into South Africa. So this today is the week that I was probably sitting in ICU in South Africa. And Dr. Justin de Toit had then confirmed that I had stage 4 Hodgkin lymphoma cancer. And I think the way I'm pausing now was probably the way I paused when he mentioned it. It didn't make sense. What happened to stage 1, 2, and 3? First of all, let's start there. I've been traveling around East Africa for the last 3-4 weeks. No signs of anything at that time, I thought. But here I am. It almost felt like my world stopped. And the hard part was even before I understood what the diagnosis was. The hard part was when I was in ICU for the 8 days, Carmen, in Mauritius. I've never had to depend, being in such a vulnerable space, I've never had to depend on any other people than my family, you know? Mm-hmm. And for the first day or two in ICU, it really did frustrate me, stress me out. I had no means to communicate to my family at that time. But things changed so drastically. Greer literally transformed themselves to be my family in like literal sense. Yeah. I had Krish, the CFO, coming to visit me. He was registered as my next of kin, and he literally took that role literal. He came for visiting hours, speaking to me, checking up on me, sneaking. I mean, we weren't allowed to use a phone, but he would sneak a phone in so I can say hi to my dad quickly. And then I had Greg. I had Greg and Tara, who had, and I don't know this is happening at that time because I had no way. I was told afterwards. They then communicated with my parents. They closed that gap of concern for my support base because they, you know, of course, my family were very stressed about it. But those 8 days that I thought were a nightmare really turned out to be the realization of how this business can transform into more than just a community. But yes, when the diagnosis was given to me, it was a harsh reality of abruptly stopping my go-getting life.
Sure, quite a pause moment in your life, but true to your nature, Pumi, you were surrounded by a Ubuntu again. You know, the people in your company, and we salute them. We salute Greer and the people in this beautiful. I mean, it's a small company, small group of colleagues who then just took up their positions around you and just again, you know, sort of carried you, and that's really beautiful for a company to come together like that, colleagues in a company to do that. So you learn about this and you had to transition. So I want you to take us into how because you responded. First, you put the soldier in you came to the fore. Okay, let's do this. Doctor, what the hell do we have to do to get this sorted? And then you had to move from soldier to slow it down mode. Give us that transition and what happened there.
Yeah, I think when Dr. Justin, then, you know, I called him back a day after he spoke to me and I said, okay, well, you know, I've had 24 hours to think about it. And now we need to get into planning mode. So what do I need to do? When do I need to start? How long is this process going to be? And for me to get to that point quickly, Carmen, I had to get to a state of mind to not hang on to the severity of my critical illness. I chose one of the things he said when he tried to explain what Hodgkin lymphoma is. He said, but it is treatable. It can be treatable, and it's up to you whether it is. And I hung on to those words. Carmen, when he said to me, it's treatable, any other option was not an option. Not surviving for me was not an option. And so when I called him, I said, what do we need to do? How long is this thing? He said, it's going to be 6 months treatment. I said, 6 months and that's it. I don't want you to come back and say it's another month. It's 6 months. So what do I need to do to make the 6 months 6 months? True project management style. He said to me, I need you to have a positive mind. I need you to eat well, and I need you to exercise. And I said, well, that seems easy. So if exercise, I remember the look on his face when I said this. So exercise, I can do weights. And he looked at me and he was like, I think maybe stay away from the weights, like take a walk. But yeah, so Carmen, you're quite right. I was there in a true project management style, true soldier style, got my family around. This is what I gave them 24 hours to digest the news because we didn't have time to waste, and came back and started planning. But, you know, there came a point where it was after my second or during the second month of treatment where I felt this mode, the constant go mode and planning mode was draining me. Remember, I'm a stage 4 cancer patient. I'm going through chemotherapy. I'm physically unable. I cannot do anything. But at the same time, I need to have a positive mind. And my family, my parents in particular, saw this. And that's when my dad said, you know, they came together and they said, you know, Pumi, we know you can, we know you're capable. We know you do. You do what you put your mind to, but now is the time to slow down, to stop fighting the wind, and to rely on what you have built. And you know, I can't talk about the story without talking about God and my spirituality, but it reminded me of the story of Elijah and his army of angels, and that servant that went to Elijah frantically saying, they're coming after you. They're coming after us. And Elijah said, God, open up his eyes so that he can see the army that's coming to war for us. And that's basically the interpretation of what my parents were said. And when I decided to listen, because it was very hard, when I decided to stop the plannings, just calm down and be part of the process. Carmen, the army of angels that I saw was incredible. I saw Greer coming down the hill. I saw grit crossing over the oceans towards me. I saw my consultants in Dubai coming down and saying, cheering me on. I literally saw every single person that I had made connections and networks with throughout my career really coming in full force to cheer me on and to say, you're going to get through us and we're going to be right here behind you. And for the first time, I think, in my entire life, I stopped and focused on myself. I stopped and decided to trust my army. I decided to trust my medical team. I decided I don't need to do the planning. Craig, my boss, was fantastic. I would phone him once in a while and ask him if I can do something. And he said to me, I don't want 20% of you. I want 100% of you. So just stop and focus on your 6 months, because when you come back, we want Nompumelelo, we want Pumi 2.0, okay? And it was a lesson learned. It was a lesson learned for the first time in my life, to allow other people to be there for me.
Sure. Well, Pumi, I feel like we need a moment to just digest all of that. Yeah, a breathing moment. Thank you for sharing that with so much spirit. And, you know, both Greer and Grit are the foundation on which these two companies are built, is relationships and Ubuntu. And what you experience and just your nature of building all these relationships, so that all these, I mean, that was a beautiful scene that you painted with everybody rushing toward you, in terms of just this amount of angels and the spirit with which you experience this. And to put it into context, it was 3 days after chemo and you were walking 3 kilometers, 2 months after chemo, and you were in remission.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct. I, you know, as much as I was slowing down, I decided to be there for myself and my body. And it was 2 weeks after chemo, I started walking 1 to 2 kilometers a day. And then I went to go to my checkup 2 months after my 2nd month of chemo, and I was in remission. And I remember Dr. Justin, he was also so surprised. A stage 4 cancer patient on the 2nd month of chemo being in remission is a miracle. It really is a miracle. He was so excited. He phoned me, he phoned my dad, he phoned everyone. I mean, he had the right energy that I needed to tap into, right? And true to that, the rest of the chemo, as much as chemo is hard on the body, still is hard on the body, it really felt like I'm sailing through it, because I saw my army of support. I am confident that the statement, it is treatable, is already a reality after 2 months. And I knew that in my life, God promised me that I would see my 40th birthday. And that's what I did in December.
Yay! Oh, and Pumi, you've just had other news. Share it with us.
I do. You know, and I suppose it goes to, you know, what's next. I had my monthly consultation with my doctor this week, and he took my blood results and said to me, your bloods are back to normal, girl. You're normal again. You can stop taking the medication at the end of this month, and you can go live your life. And I was like, what? He's like, sadly, you don't have to see me every month now. And I'm still marinating in those news. I still feel like he told me an hour ago. It's unbelievable, Carmen, quite honestly, when you think of the journey. It really was a year ago this time. I didn't think that this was going to be me today.
To me, you're making me cry. Girl, you are amazing. Sure. Your story is truly remarkable. You're a beautiful, beautiful woman with grit. And if we wrap it all up in terms of what you've portrayed, is you've created the support around you and literally an army of angels around you. Your spirit is second to none. I mean, your spirit can literally, you've got the wings to fly. You're the queen of success, for heaven's sake. And the self-love that you've really learned, which has made you soldier on, is just a remarkable, beautiful, beautiful story. And thank you for sharing so passionately with us today. I don't think there can be anybody here that doesn't feel touched. In the chat, if you've got your chat open, just shout out there what is going through your minds at the moment. I know I've got goosebumps from head to toe. This is what true living is about. This is what it means to be human. This is what it means to be a woman with grit. This is what's possible when, and she hasn't done it on her own. That's, I think, the secret here is too many women think they need to do it on their own, and you've surrounded yourself with beautiful people and men, so many men who've supported you through this. So, Pumi, in the last 6 months, your life has taken another incredible turn, and you're on the verge of something beautiful. Share that with us.
Yes, I mean, it's even more exciting now after the news that I got this week. So my next ship is sailing to East Africa, still under the Gria brand. I'm absolutely excited about this journey. I think I envisioned this journey probably a year ago or a few months before I got sick. And to come back out of such an ordeal, to come back to the same environment, to the same Gria environment, but this time Gria and Grit are ready for East Africa, is just absolutely phenomenal for me. I feel like, again, I'm going to be moving to Kenya. And again, I feel like I'm going into there with this army of support that is Grit and Gria. Obviously, my family is right behind me. And I believe that the platform of Grit and Gria has got a lot to offer. I know that we are active in a lot of other regions, but I'm so passionate about East Africa. I cannot wait. We've got a pipeline of projects that we're rolling out in East Africa. But what I'm excited about is the social investment that we're going to give back into the region. And I look forward to being a part of it. I believe that if you come out of something like what I've come out of, there is a purpose, there's a reason why. And it has to be beyond the work. Fortunately, I love what I do. And I'm looking forward to how, and I know we've got great plans to roll out our social investment. We've got great plans with our foundation, Gria and Grit Foundation, and to come out and be part of that force that's going out into the East Africa region. For me, Carmen, is phenomenal. I'm full of energy. I am healthy.
Yay!
And I'm ready. I'm ready for what is coming in the next couple of years.
Oh, Helen, world, is she ready? Wow, watch out, world.
Yeah.
So, Pumi, if you were to sum up your most cherished success secrets, what is it?
Definitely check yourself. There's 3 things that you need. For me, what helped me is balancing myself in 3 ways. Am I in equilibrium with my mind, my body, and my soul? And the last 6 months, made me realize that I was lacking in taking care of my body. And, you know, we'll talk about it someday, how I then eventually realized that I actually wasn't listening to my body and I was really absolutely exhausted. But, you know, leading up to where I am today, the lessons that I've learned, and I want to encourage people, and especially women that are in the time of their life where they've given everything to develop themselves, they've given everything to build up their career, and maybe they feel stuck, or maybe they feel like it's just too much. And what I got out from the success formula is check yourself in all three levels. Check yourself mentally. How are you? How are you feeling mentally? Are you mentally strong to do whatever it is you want to achieve? And when you are mentally strong, are you emotionally? Is your spirit, is your soul strong enough to also carry you through when you're down in the valleys? You know, are you spiritually sound to get you out of it? And then most importantly, which we all put on our back foot, is, are you physically ready as well? What is your body telling you? Are you tired? Take that time to sleep. Are you not? Do you have that energy? Use that energy to get whatever it is that you need to get. Are you spiritually down? Find your spiritual mentor who's going to pick you up. And if you do those little steps, it's really, they all work together. And I don't know if you remember, Carmen, my first year in Mauritius, when I had my sessions with you, I was in a fit. I didn't know whether I was coming or going, or what am I doing in this life? And that is what you recommended to me. And I took that, and I took the tools you gave me. And in the 2 years leading up to, you know, got sick, I tried to balance it out. I started late, unfortunately. And so I didn't pay attention to my body. I got sick. But to those that are listening, don't let it get to that point. Check yourself in everything you do, because like I said to myself, or like the reality that I had, you are of no use to yourself, and you're of no use to other people, you're of no use to your family if you are in the physical state that I was in 6 months ago. And try and work not to get to that point.
Yeah. Pumi, thank you so much. It's a joy, it's a blessing to spend an hour like this with such a spirited, beautiful, outside and inside. You're just a beautiful woman with grit, and you know, everything that you've shared, we can really take to heart and go into this weekend knowing that as women with grit, let's build that support base around us. We're never actually alone. Even in our darkest moments, we feel alone. We're never actually alone. There's always someone out there. And when we take time to build those relationships, those people come to our support. The spirit that you've spoken about and that you display, it gushes out of you. It's just so beautiful. But check where are you on that spiritual gauge, and how you know how spirited we are also shows how connected spiritually we are. And the self-love, which us women fall short on so often, is so crucial, so crucial. And then there's a soldier in every single one of us. We are all warriors. We just have to tap in, and we are freaking unbelievable kick-ass when we tap in. And beautiful thing is we support each other too. And yet, in my life as well, being in a male-dominated industry, men actually come to your support. I find men incredible when you reach out and you also play the game with them. And they often are our greatest soldiers, actually. So it's up to us. Thank you, Pumi. Thank you for your beautiful spirit. Wishing you the Queen of Success to go do your thing in Kenya and beyond. And if there are any any questions, put in the chat or unmute yourself, and we'll just take 5 more minutes if you have a question for Pumi. Otherwise, we'll wrap up, but please, if you've got a question, let us know, or a comment, or in the chat, any extra comments, questions. takeaways for you? Can't unmute. Olivia, can you help Pranita unmute, please? Yeah, absolutely great start to the weekend. And just whilst we're waiting, Pranita, can you unmute now? Or maybe if you can't, then if you can just put your question in the chat. So beautiful as well, as this is a grit event. When you hear of testimonies like this, where a company, Grit and Greer, come to the fore like this, this is what I believe business is actually all about. It's about these deeply human principles, and what two incredible companies. So to all the people that supported Pumi and who continue to do such amazing things. I have the privilege to work with these beautiful people at these two companies, and they truly are just human beings that are beautiful. Please, could you unmute us?
Yes.
Olivia, if you can unmute everybody, then we can just have anyone who wants to ask a question. Let me see if I can do that. Maybe Olivia.
Hi, so it's Pranita.
Hi, Pranita.
Yes, so my comment was from, as an oncologist, so I've been listening very closely.
Yes.
Let me see if I can start my video. So yeah, I was very intrigued by your amazing recovery. So that's super exciting, and you have to just be chuffed, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think so. My practice has a specific focus for young women with cancer because it's a particular unique need. I don't know if you felt like generally you got cancer, you have to be an old person. And so young people tend to have very different outlook. And one of the things is about financial, whether you enter your families, going to pay the bond, sexual identity, relationships, everything's so different. And it's fascinating in one way. So I guess because my practice focuses so much on that need was just to find out from you, what do you see as something you weren't seen by your doctor, by people around you, that you would advise to me as an oncologist to remember, but also just your sense of identity.
Yeah, I think, Pranita, you touched on a very interesting statement that I didn't want to get into, but being a cancer patient and being a female is different in many ways. I remember we had to wait for me to start my chemo because I needed to decide whether I want to have children afterwards or not. And it was a big panic, and that's another story for another day. And I think, as you know, I cannot fault Dr. Justin and his team. He was in a panic because I needed time to get this right. But I was a stage 4 cancer patient, and he needed to get me on chemo as quickly as possible. But the great takeaway that I can take from that is, I think it's very important for patients to be able to connect with their oncologist, especially female patients. I have had the opportunity to interact with other oncologists when Dr. Justin Doit wasn't around. And I can tell you for a fact that Dr. Justin Doit and his team were made for a patient like me. Their patience, their energy, we always fight between me and him. I get inspired by you, and he says, no, but you inspire me. So I said, but I get energy from me. And he says, but you get energy from And who can say that they have that relationship with their oncologist? And I hope that your patients can say that about you. I hope your patients can say, you know what, there's no better team that I will want than Dr. Pile's team. And that's my recommendation to you, and I'm very interested to hear more about your women's unit. And I think maybe with Olivia, we can try and connect and see how we can tap into that unit. And me personally, how I can help you there.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Pranita, for sharing that with us and for being the kind of doctor that cares so much. That's just, you can just see just from that question, the humility. That's just beautiful. Are there any other questions or comments before we close? Anything from you, Moira?
I see Nomzamo wants to say something.
Yes.
Okay.
Can Nomzamo go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Olivia, are you able to unmute?
I think everyone is, okay, they're back muted. Let me just double check if I can.
Let me just check where Olivia, she's having problems to unmute you.
Can I go in the meantime? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
No, I can hear you.
Hi guys, sorry, I'm not going to put my camera on because I'm driving. I'm in transit now. My name is Luna, and I am one of Pumi's younger sisters. I've known her since I was about, how old was I? Geez, I must have been 10. But I wanted to say, Pumi, that, you know, just listening to you and your story is phenomenal. And I think it's the, you know, I cannot overemphasize the importance of sharing our stories. And I just wanted to thank you for being so, you know, open and willing to share your story, because, you know, your experience can really make a difference to someone else's experience. And yeah, I'm very proud of your journey and what you've done. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, sis. Thank you. I mean, there's so much we can say, but I just want to say 2 weeks ago, we went and we celebrated life with Luna in the Maldives. And it was a significant week because that was the first week that I was in ICU. So I take a lot of what she says to heart.
Lovely, sister sharing. I think everyone's unmuted now, so anyone
Thank
else?
you. I just wanted to please maybe just add a comment just to compliment Pumi. Known her for a very, very long time, personally, and but I still do feel hurt by the journey that she's had to endure in the past year. However, I'm also very proud and very excited about how she has overcome it. And it is true that as and when we are chasing the careers and trying to have it all, our health does take a back seat. And at times we need something drastic for us to do something about it. And so we all take that advice from you and take it to heart. And I just wanted to say, we're always proud of you. We're always behind you all the way. And it's very unfortunate that on the day when we had your 40th, was a day when I was down with COVID. I was very glad that I didn't come. I didn't force because I just couldn't have lived with myself to infect you. So I just wanted to say to you, thank you for sharing this journey and good luck as you venture into East Africa. We know you're going to make a success of it. You're made of great things. You always have been made of great things. You've always been pushing for greatness, and you are exactly that. I wish for you to now know that you are enough. You are great. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Nomzamo. Do Geez, Nomzamo also always gets me. I call her Sis Nomzamo, but she's, you know, they don't like it when you put the sis in the public platform. But she always gets me to this point. Nomzamo has been my mentor for many years, even before we joined Grit. I hijacked her as my mentor. We were at a event. For an award.
You still, it's as though you've just heard the news again, that you're now clear. So yeah, from me, just, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. And we are so proud of you, and yeah, and just have lots of fun and just keep going like you have done. So thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Moira. I'm so grateful that the first platform that I get to share my story is on the Women with Grit platform. And I believe that there are many other platforms that I'll be able to share my story, and I hope that it's going to motivate the right people, and that the words encourage whoever needs to hear them. So thank you so much, Moira, for asking me to be speaking on this platform. It has been incredible, Carmen, for navigating me through the interview and making it easy for me to open up in such a vulnerable way. Thank you to everyone that tuned in and to listen. I'm really humbled about it. Thank you.
Wow. Consider writing Pumi, a book, The Princess of War. Anushka. Absolutely, I believe a book is there to be written. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Grit and Greer, for making this possible. And to every single one of you that have joined us today, thank you. It's, wow, every single one of us have a story. Every single one of us have been through our own stuff, and you've got what it takes to make your own way and to realize your dreams. You deserve to do that. We're all here for each other, and have a beautiful day further. Have a magical weekend, and whatever you choose to do for the rest of the year, do it with grit. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks, Carmen. That was, yeah, the conversation between yourself and Pumi was amazing.
Such a pleasure to host such a beautiful woman. Thank you, and thank you to you, Moira, as well, and to the whole team that made this happen. And again, to everyone that's joined us on a Friday afternoon, thank you. This is what makes us killer women, and we're out there to make a difference, and we are each other's Ubuntu and army. So let's hold each other on high, and we can make it through this life in the most spectacular way as women with grit. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.